Now, let's move to our next stop for today's topic. Oh, by the way, just in case you have some clarification or question, you can just PM me questions for whatever it is that you wanted me to clarify. Say, for example, there are things that you are quite confused, or probably there are some error probably my discussion here, because sometimes, you know, there are lapses from my end. So you just PM me so I can explain you, just in case there are lapses during my explanation or discussion. Anyway, so let's now talk about, okay, we're moving now to interests, okay? So of course, we're talking about capital I, the interest. But we have to consider also that there is what we call exact interests, and then we also have ordinary interests. You might be asking, what is the difference between exact interest and an ordinary interest? Now, based on the time, we have the approximate time, and then we have the actual time. When we say exact interest, that is computed based on 365 days. 365 days is the basis for this one. Well, the ordinary, it's computed based on the 360 days. Okay? So, it's like exact interest is based on the actual time, and then the ordinary interest is based on the approximate time. Okay? So, I hope exact interest and ordinary interest now is quite clear to all of us. But we have to understand though that according here, banks and most other institutions still use ordinary interest. You know the reason? It's because it yields somewhat higher interest as compared to exact time or exact interests. Okay? So, ordinary interest, accordingly, this is what is still commonly, widely used now in most financial institutions. It is because this would generate more interest as to compare to the exact time. Okay? So that is perhaps the reason. And also, just a reminder, just in case, in the problem here in the book or in the quiz that we will have in the exam, whatever it is, unless stated, interest is calculated based on the banker's rule. Okay? Banker's rule, meaning to say, the banker's rule actually refers to this one, that interest is computed based on the ordinary interest unless stated that you're going to use exact interest. So if there was no declaration or wasn't stated as to what type of interest will be calculated, then automatically we will apply the banker's rule, which is computed according to ordinary interests. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay, let's move and we will continue. We will start with this one. First problem. Find the interests ordinary interests using actual time. Ordinary interest using approximate. And then C, exact interest using actual time. And then the third is actual interest using approximate. Okay, so here is our first problem. Find the interest, simple interest actually, on a 38,700 pesos at 7.3 annual interest rate from March 14, 2017 to August 16, 2017 using the following. So we have here 4 cases. We will compute the interest, the simple interest using ordinary interest using actual time, ordinary interest using approximate time, exact interest using actual time, and then exact interest using approximate time. Okay, we will start with identifying first the time. Okay, so first we have March, April, May, June, July, August. Under March, that is, we started with March 14, so that is for actual time. For actual time, we know that in March, January, February, March, that's 31. So that's 31 minus 14. What's 31 minus 14? 31 minus 14, that is 16, 17, right? Okay, that is 17, and then 30 days followed with 31 May, June is 30, 31, July is 31 days, then August is, how many days in August? 16. And then for approximate, so we have 30 minus 14 equals 16, then 30, 30, 30, 30, then 16. Now, computing this all together, we have how many months? 155 days, and then the other one is 152 days. Okay? So we found out now the actual time and then the approximate time. I'll just write it here first. You have, for actual time is 155, and then for approximate is 152. Now, bear with me, I'll have to do this one because I only have a very minimal space for my computation because I have to erase this again. Okay, so we found out now that the actual date for this transaction is 155 days, and then for the approximate is only 152 days. Okay, well, let me remove it one. We have now already our days. Let's compute the interest under ordinary interest. For ordinary interest, letter A, okay, what we're going to do is, by the way, I forgot to mention that our formula is principal, where should I write the formula? Okay, I'll just write it. Principal equals I, or rather, our formula here is, what was the formula? I equals PRT. Interest equals principals times rate times time. And then of course you can just play this around. Rewriting the equation in several ways. And if it's P, that's going to be I divided by RT. If it is R, it's simply I divided by PT. And then if it is T, it is I divided by PR. Okay? Those were our possible ways to rewrite them, more or less. And then, of course, for our future value for F, it's simply principal plus interest. That's the future value. Or another way of future value computation is principal times rate, or that's 1 plus RT. Okay? Okay, I hope you can still see it. So these are at least the basic formula that I'll walk you through. I forgot to mention this one. So we have this one. Anyway, the first four can just be generated using the first one. You can just play it around, and then we have the formula for the future value or the maturity value. Either you compute it as principal plus interest, or principal equals, future value equals principal times the quantity 1 plus rate times time. Now let's go back to this problem here. So, applying or solving for the interest, okay, we're asked to solve for the interest, so that's I. I equals principal rate times time. Can I just identify first our given here? Can I just remove this part? Anyway, we know that ordinary interest using actual time, and then ordinary interest using approximate time. Because I needed more space. Let's start with our given. We have principal amount we have our principal amount, which is 38,700. And then our rate, R is equal to 7.3%. And then our time, okay, this is our time. 155 for, this is actual time, and then approximate is 152. Okay, now let's start solving with I. I equals PRT. Our principal amount is 38,700, okay? And then, wait, what happened? I'm sorry if this is, I just have to follow the example here so we have the right answer right away. I'll just follow with just 28,000. Okay, I'll just change it. Because I'm still wondering here. Okay, so we have this one. In this case, our interest, we have to convert the interest into decimal, which is 0.073. So that is 0.073. And then our time, that's PRT. Our principal amount is 28,700. Our rate is 7.3%. Our time is actually, it's per year. Remember T earlier, I mentioned that it's the, what do you call this one? It's the annual rate. So this is comparing annual rate. Since our letter A problem was ordinary interest using the actual time, so actual time is computed based on 365 days, remember? So this is going to be 155 over 365. That's our computation. Okay? Wait, ordinary interest using actual time. Huh? Sorry, ordinary interest. So since it's ordinary interest, it should be 60 for letter A. Because actual interest or exact interest was the 365. Sorry, I was quite confused with that one. So we will use our calculator. Where's my calculator here? I forgot now. Where's my calculator? Right here. So we have now our principal amount, our interest. By the way, this is the time, the computation of ordinary interest. Remember ordinary interest, so that's why it's divided by 360. If it's exact interest, then our divisor here is 365. So you have 28,000 700 rather, times 0.073, and then multiply by 155 divided by 360. So you have, what happened? 28,700 times 0.073 times 155 divided by 360. Okay, the answer is 900 or 902.06. We will round our answer to the closest person, the closest set. So this is now our interest. The interest of this transaction here under ordinary interest actual time is 902 pesos with 0.6 centavos. Now, this is letter A. For letter B, interest, that is ordinary interest using approximate time. So that's 28,700 times 0.073, and then this time we will use approximate time. So that's 152. Okay? Over 360. Still 360 because we're computing ordinary interests. A and B in our problem is both ordinary interests. That's why our divisor for the time is 360. So still, when you compute this one using your calculator, we would arrive with an answer of, is that 884.60. Okay? This is the answer. Now for letter C, this time letter C, computing interest now, the question is exact interest. If A and B are ordinary, exact interest, approximate time, exact interest, actual time. Let's start. That's 28,700 times 0.073 times 155 over 365. This is the exact interest actual time. Exact interest actual time. Then, which the answer here is the answer 889.70. 889.70 pesos. And then letter D, exact interest approximate time. So that's 228,700 times 0.073. That's the annual rate times the time, which is 155 over 365. Okay, 365. The answer here is 872. $48. Now, this is the computation of interest, simple interest. A and B here is computation of simple interest using actual time. Simple interest, approximate time. Actual interest, exact interest, actual time. Exact interest, approximate time. So that's our answer. So the interest now for this transaction is 902 pesos and 06 centavos. That is ordinary interest, actual time. And then this is the amount also when it is ordinary interest, approximate time, exact interest, actual time, exact interest, actual approximate time. So that's the first example that we have. Okay? Okay, so we will now have our another example, 3 more example about simple interest with different situation. Let's have this example. What Okay, now here is our example. What amount of interest will be charged on 7,300 money borrowed for 3 years at simple interest rate of 12% per annum? Now, this is our interest rate, our principal amount, our duration. But take note, it wasn't mentioned here whether exact time or exact interest or ordinary interest. So according to what I mentioned earlier, if none was mentioned, then automatically we're going to compute this one, ordinary interests. Okay? We're going to have ordinary interest and also ordinary interest with approximate time, which months are treated with 360 days. Okay? So it wasn't mentioned whether ordinary or exact. So we will follow the banker's rule, which is the ordinary interest. It wasn't also mentioned whether actual time or approximate time. Then, according to banker's rule, we will also use the approximate time, which is 360 days. Now, to solve this problem, the question here is amount of interest. What amount of interest will be charged? So, meaning to say, we're looking for I. If you look at this situation here, what are the knowns? We have our principal value, which is the money borrowed of 7,300, and then we also have our rate of 12% per annum, or that is 0.12, and then our term here is 3 years. Okay, now let's compute for the interest. I equals principal, that's P R T. So substituting, our principal is 7,300 multiply with our rate of 0.12%, or that's 12%. Now, lastly, our year is 3 years. So we just multiply this right away with 3 years. Okay? Because it's understood that this over 360. Anyway, if we multiply this all together, our answer will be 2,628 pesos. So the question here, what amount of interest will be charged? Therefore, the amount of interest to be charged is 2,628 pesos. Okay? So simply that is I, or interest equals principals times rate times time. Okay? That is our first example, or first step. So this is our example. Let me just erase this one and let's have the second example. For the second example, let me just write first the given. Okay, here's the problem. If a 9-month term deposit at a bank earns a simple interest rate of 9% per annum, how much will have to be deposited to earn 225 pesos? Now, you notice we were given the interests. In other words, we're not solving for the interest here, but we're looking for the amount to be deposited. Meaning to say, we're talking about the principal amount. Now, just to write our given, principal is now unknown. Our interest is actually 225 pesos. And then our rate is at 9%. Or that is 0.09. And then our term here is 9 months. Okay? Okay, because it's a 9-month term. Now, to solve this problem, we will use the formula P equals I over RT. Principal amount equals interest divided by rate times time, or term. Now, since this is our problem, let us substitute our value. Our interest is 225 pesos, and then our rate is 0.09 times, since it's 9 months, okay, 9 months here, our T should be 9 over 12, I suppose. 9 divided by 12. Yeah, 9 divided by 12 because there are 12 months in a year, and since that's 9 months, that's equivalent to 0.75 or 75% of the whole year round. So that's 0.75 as we multiply. Multiplying this one now, that is going to be 225 divided by 0.09 times 0.75. Okay, we have 33,333.33 approximately because it's non-terminating decimal. So this is now where your fraction comes in, if in case you don't like to make some approximation. But anyway, since it's money and it's only for the purpose of example and discussion, then therefore, okay, hence the amount to be deposited to earn 225 pesos interest is 3,333.33 pesos. Okay, that completes our answer. You have there, all in all, 3,333.33 pesos is the amount to be deposited in order to have an interest of 225 pesos in a 9-month term deposit, considering that the interest is 9% per annum. Okay, that is our second example. Now, our third and last example for simple interests, you just have to bear with me. I'm trying to provide here similar example of several different cases under simple interest. Now, let me walk you through with this example. Abel placed how much? 18,000 pesos. Okay, here is our problem. Abel placed 18,000 pesos in a 220-day term deposit, earning 8.5% per annum. How much will the bank pay Abel on the maturity date? So, and you notice we're asked on the maturity value. So, we're looking for F. Recall, we have two formulas for F. That's interest plus principal, or we compute as future value equals principal times 1 plus RT. Now, which of the two formulas do you think is applicable? You notice in this case, we don't have the interests. We only have the interest rate. So it's not practical to use this formula because we will do a double computation. We have to compute for the interest first and then add. But there is a direct computation without computing separately the interest. So, to solve this problem, let us first identify our given. Our principal is 18,000 pesos. And then our rate is 8.5%. What is 8.5%? That is 8.5 is equivalent to, again, this is converting fraction to decimal. Okay, but anyway, this is percent. This is just to resolve first this one. That's going to be 8, 16, 17, 17 over 2 times 1 over 100. Or rather, times what? Times 0.01. Again, multiplying percent fraction to, I don't know. We have this one as times 1 over 100. So that's going to be 17 over 100. What is 17? 17 divided by 100 equals 0.17. 0.17%. So this is now our percent that we're going to use. Okay? That is 0.17. Wait. How come it's not correct? It's different. Here. 17. Six times 2 is 16 plus 170 over 2 in percent. Or that's 17 divided by 2. Okay, let's just do it this way because the result is quite different. So this is going to be 17 over 2 in percent. Convert this one into decimal, so that is simply 17 over 2 times 0.01. Okay, that is 17 divided by 2 times 0.01. It's 0.085. And then our term here is 240 over 360. That's correct, right? 340 over 360 because there's only 340 days and out of an ordinary interest computation of 360 as our divisor. So F here, or we are going to use this formula. Principal amount is 18,000 times 1 plus our rate. Okay, I just changed our symbol of groupings. R here is 0.085 times 240 over 360. Close. And then, by the way, let's use our calculator. So that's 18,000 times 18,000 times 1 plus close 0.085 times 240 240 divided by 360 close. The answer is 19,020. That's P, 19,020. So in this question, does the bank pays 19,020 pesos on the maturity date? Okay? Anyway, that's the entire computation. At least I have provided you several examples and several cases of computing simple interest. Okay? So like I said, if there is some clarification, you can ask me. PM me a question via Messenger, and I'll try to address your question as much as possible if there is a question. Here, probably you can just leave it in the description box of this video. Okay? Okay?